In this video, we're going to look at the aggregations in PySpark. We're going to see how we could use count, min, and max on PySpark data frames. First, I'm importing all the libraries. While importing, this time I'm importing functions as f. This is a new way of importing. Next, as usual, we're creating a Spark session object and reading the data. This dataset has already been used in the previous videos as well, so this is a Netflix titles data. The first thing I want to do is I want to group the data based on the country column. So first, let's look at the values of the country column. F.call, this is a new way because we imported all the functions as f. To call any functions, we use f dot that function name. The column is country, truncate, call false. Okay, as we could see, these are the different values in the country column. Let's see what happens if we group by the country column without any formatting or modifying this column. So let's call the data frame as group df. So df dot group by country. After grouping, let's count how many values are there for each country. Group df dot count and count df dot show. Okay, so you found the problem here, right? So there are comma separated country values, and if you don't modify this country column, the value of the counts have no meaning. So what we are going to do is to split these countries into separate rows. For example, if you have three country names in this particular row, we are going to make three different rows for this particular row. And for this row as well, there are four countries. We're going to have four different rows. Then if we aggregate or group by country, we'll get the count for each country. So we're going to use split and explode functions to get one row for each country. So exploded df, we call it exploded df, the new data frame. With column country, I'm going to explode after splitting the country column based on comma. So what this split function does is it converts this comma separated values for each row into an array, and that array is then exploded so that each of the element of the array will become a row, and then each value will be trimmed because there are some empty spaces. That's what happens in this exploded df data frame. So let's look at the exploded data frame after splitting. So now we could see the countries are separated. So now we are going to aggregate or count the movies in each country. So we call the data frame as group df final. We take this exploded data frame exploded df and then group by country, and then use the count method, and finally order by count. So now we got each country and the count of movies for that country. The next thing I want to do is I want to get the latest release date and the earliest release date of the movies in each country. So we're going to target this date added column, but we need to do some formatting because the date added column is of string data type. First, let's look at the date added column values. Let's take the distinct values and let's look at the data. Okay, so the date added is in this format, and also it is a string. So what we're going to do is we'll convert this data into a date format and then into a format which is convenient to us. So to convert the string to a date format, we use toDate function, f.toDate of date added, and because the date is in this format, I'm giving that format. Next, I want to convert this date format, October 5, 2019, let's say, into some readable format like year, month, and date. So to convert into a desired format, I'm again using with column method. This time I'm using f.dateFormat function and using this format. Let's shake the data after we converted it. So now we could see the date format in the format which I wanted, year, month, and date. Now if I order the date in ascending order, I could see some null values. So I want to get rid of these null values. Also, before getting rid of these null values, I want to know how many values are null. So let's call it bad count of the values, which is the date format. I'm filtering it based on null values and counting it and printing the non-date or null values. Okay, we got 126 null values in this column. Now I want to keep only the non-null values. I'm calling the data frame as valid df. I'm filtering all the columns if it is not null and then putting it in the data frame. Also, I'm just counting how many valid values are there just to get a comparison of the nulls and non-nulls. So we have 9890 rows which are valid. So I can go ahead, valid df dot show. This is the final data frame on which we are going to do the aggregations. Get the latest release date for each country. So I call the df as max release df. The valid df I'm taking the valid df, I'm grouping it by the country and applying an aggregate function maximum on this date added column. I'm aliasing the column name as latest release date and I'm looking at the data. Okay, so for Afghanistan, the latest release date is Jan 1st, 2017 in the as per the data, and then for each country we have that. So now we'll do multiple aggregations where we get for each country the total count of the movies and the latest release date and the first release date. So the release date group df is I'm taking the valid df, grouping it by the country and applying the aggregate functions f.count, f.max and f.min. I'm also aliasing the column names as number of releases, last release date and first release date. I'm finally ordering it by number of releases in descending order. Okay, so now we got for each country how many releases are there, what is the latest release date and what is the first release date. So these are the different ways in which we could use aggregate functions in PySpark. We could use max, min, count, group by and stuff. So that's all for this video. Thank you for watching.